Hey, Pauline, how you doing? Okay, this is a tremendous start. I really think it is. I only have a few recommendations moving into your final. You've been paying attention, obviously, and you've taken into consideration a lot of the comments that I've made through some of the other earlier posts, and I think that's smart. I mean, I always think it's smart to use the resources you have in front of you. So if you're going to post later in the week, by all means, use what's already there to your advantage, right? And I think you've done so quite successfully. Let's take a look at the some of the well. Let's take a look at your presentation. You talk. This is a good, pretty good introduction. Good job there. Now you go straight into economy. But the one thing I would like you to do here in this economy, you talk about Japan proper, but I'd like you to kind of boil this down or drill this down to the economy of the local area that you're going to be, that's going to Asahikawa, Asahikawa, Japan. So let's talk about Asahikawa in their local economies, as opposed to talking about the general economy of Japan proper. Okay, that you're talking about the second largest city in Japan, the northern island of Hokkaido, which enjoys a healthy economic base. And but talk about that. Get into that. Talk about that. You mentioned the brewing and lumber industries and furniture and paper pulp production, and that's interesting too because that could quite feasibly work into your visual solutions as well. Weather statistics, yeah. So you mentioned a little bit about weather, but let's talk about the what is needed for what type of weather, what kind of climate is preferred, and what is needed to host a Winter Olympic event. And you can find that information through I believe, through the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, and some of their statistics in their website. So let's talk about how the weather statistics specifically in your area hold true to the what is expected and what is required of a Olympic event. Culture. This is great because I mean Japan, the rich cultural heritage, and it is just going to be just a wealth of information there and a drawing pool for you to really get into some of your visual solutions. I think are really going to be held in this indigenous culture of Japan, ancient cultures of Japan. But one thing I want to mention here is try not to be too predictable here. I know that in a lot of times Japan, when students are portraying Japan in one way or another, it's always the imperial sun. It's always the traditional expected visual solution. So try not to be predictable there. I think it's going to be really important to the outcome and the success. You talk about ground and air transportation. That's great. Ground and transportation. Now, what about the neighboring cities? How many of those neighboring cities, and what is the I've been telling students to really consider the neighboring cities, meaning basically a 100-mile radius, so maybe a 2-hour transport every day to and from the event that would be located in the central location. So talk about that and also the public transportation infrastructure as well. And again, you've touched on a lot of this stuff. I just kind of want you to think about expounding on this a little bit for your final presentation. Good. Talk about the rail paths. That's excellent. Good job there. The airports. Great job. Accommodations. You talk about the 118 hotels available, but I'd like you to drill that down a little bit to the number of rooms that are available. And again, you can probably find statistics in IOC depending on how you research, but you can definitely find statistics on the number of athletes, the number of expected visitors, and the number of hotel rooms that would be needed to accommodate the convergence of that type of temporary population onto your location. Okay, restaurants definitely, hospitals definitely, good job there. Public safety and security, absolutely. Great job. I think that the rest of is just really, really solid. The one thing I would recommend, a couple of things I would recommend is the carbon footprint. So what kind of carbon footprint is going to be left behind, and how is this going to affect the local peoples in the area that you are bidding for the event? So in other words, there's a lot of negative aspects to holding an event of this magnitude. I think that through research you can find some of those negative aspects, and I think one of the major things is the fact that a lot of times the locations and the venues are left to ruin, and that's not good for local economies. It's not good for local. It's not good for the carbon footprint of the area which you are bidding to have the event as well. So talk about that a little bit. And also another thing I wanted to mention is pollution. Is pollution going to be a problem? Also talk about the political climate. So is this an area that could be prone to terror attacks? I hate even saying that, but I mean, it's such a real part of our world. So is this something that could be prone, and how is our national security going to be able to combat things like that? Also, think about military escalations and things like that in the area, if that's a possibility, or even a probability. Okay, so other than that, fantastic job, great job. Your sources are tremendous, really fantastic work here, Pauline. Really good job. So just a few little recommendations for your final presentation, and you are right in there. So definitely start thinking about moving to your visuals, but we still have the final presentation for this this kind of introductory report due next week. So, all right, great job. Any questions, give me a holler. Thanks, Pauline.